Hi everyone, this is the next in the series of the relationship compatibility, and today I'm doing Soul Urge 5. Now, as I normally do, just a quick explanation. Your core numbers are your life path number, your birthday number. So your life path number are your lessons and things you need to learn for this lifetime, like your mission for this lifetime. So this is the most important number. And the birthday number is an added mission tagged on to the main lesson for this lifetime. And then the second most important number above the birthday number is the expression number, or some call it key number, some call it talent number, some people just call it name number. So this brings with it your talents and abilities to this lifetime. So that's 3 of the 4 main core numbers. The 4th main core number is your soul urge number. This is like your main motivations for this lifetime. This is what you really want out of life. So when you think in terms of relationship compatibility, it's the soul urge number that is the most important in ensuring that a couple has a fulfilling and happy future together. Now, there are elements of the life path, birthday, and talent or expression number that may be relevant. Like if you're both learning the same lessons, there's going to be ups and downs with that. Or if you've both got the same talents and abilities, there'll be ups and downs with that. But it is more about what you ultimately desire from life, which is your soul urge number. Now, I have a core numbers video where I explain how to work out your soul urge number, but I've added a little page to this presentation to remind you, but still go into my core numbers. That I'm going to put the link to that in the description box. Still go into the core numbers because it will show you how to work out all your core numbers on that video. Okay, right, so working out your soul number. So the soul urge number is calculated with the vowels in your full birth name. So that's a birth name on your certificate, not a nickname, not a name that you changed by depot. This is your full birth name that your parents gave you when you were born. Okay. So for example, I have Joe Robert Smith. Now each of these names needs to be worked out separately, added together, reduced or turned to a master number, and then all these 3 numbers are added up at the end. So it's really important that you do the names one at a time. Add up, reduce, add up, reduce, add up, reduce, and then add up the numbers, say 1, 2, 3 numbers at the end. So Joe. Okay, so Joe has 2 vowels within it. The 0 is the value of the 6, and the E is the value of the 5. So Joe is 6 plus 5 equals 11. Now that's not Joseph, that's not any other name. That was the name he was given on his birth certificate. Okay, if it was Joseph, we would do the whole name, but this is the name on his birth certificate. So this adds up to 11. Now, I could reduce this down to 2, but it's a master number, so I'm going to leave it at an 11. Okay, we must acknowledge each element where there's master numbers. Okay, the middle name Robert. Okay, so the vowel is the O and the E again, like the same as Joe. So 6 plus 5 is 11. We leave it at that. And his surname Smith, we only have 1 vowel in Smith. That's the 9. So that equals the 9. So then we add together the 11, 11 and the 9, as I've done here. This comes to 31. So this would make the soul urge number a 314, but most importantly is the 4. Okay, so don't focus too much on the steps when it comes to the soul urge. It is relevant, but it's mostly about the 4. Okay, so whatever your soul urge number is, you may get a number like this, and it will give you extra insights if you want to delve a little bit deeper into your soul urge. But for the purposes of relationship compatibility, on the surface, I would just understand that you are a 4 soul urge if your name is Joe Robert Smith. Okay, right, so compatibility of the soul urge 5, which is what I'm focusing on today, and the soul urge 1. Now, the 5 is a tricky wicket because the soul urge 5 finds committing to relationships difficult. They quickly lose interests. They love to move on to new things, and they need a partner that allows them that freedom, as the confines of a relationship could prove too much often for the 5. But as the 5 develops and realizes that they do need someone in their life, and then they're honest about their needs to their partner, and they want to take that step to develop towards commitment, there is no reason why the 5 cannot be in a strong relationship. It depends what level that 5 is in their development, okay, and whether the 5 soul urge in this lifetime wants to develop into a stable, committed relationship, which is it's a difficult one if you're a soul urge 5, because you are looking for variation, but there is an element of discipline needed there, and you'd like to hope that there would be a specialism that might creep in. Anyway, the soul urge, however, they're independent little souls. They don't necessarily need a relationship. The soul urge 1, they like to have a relationship, and it's useful to them to have a relationship, but a soul urge 1 doesn't necessarily put too much kudos on a relationship in their future or continuing the relationship they have. So their compatibility in relationships depends how their soul urge number is being achieved in other areas of their life, namely their career, okay, because the soul urge 1 is very task and very career orientated. They like to be the leader in a relationship, which could be a sticky one for a 5. But, sorry, that's someone at my door. I'm not going to be answering that. So the 1 does like to lead in love, but the 5 doesn't like really being led. So this could possibly be an issue that might need to be dealt with. The 1's need for independence means they need enough freedom to go towards their own path, to be innovative, to start new things. So they need that personal freedom that, to how can I put this? To be innovative, to be groundbreaking. I say, so they do need that space, which would be good for the 5 because the 5 likes their freedom. So that won't necessarily be an issue in a relationship with a 5 and a 1. But the soul urge 1 wants their relationships to be exciting. And boy, can the 5 deliver on exciting. Okay, so when it comes to the 1 needing space and the 1 needing excitement, the 5 can give the 1 that. Okay, they're all about that. The numbers most compatible with the 1 are said to be the 4, the 8 and the 9 soul urge. So people don't necessarily think that the 1 and the 5 are overly compatible together. They say the least compatible are the 6 and the 7. So that puts the 5 and the 1 in the mediocre range, which, in my view, even if you're least compatible, there is an option for you to work together if you understand each other, as I often say. So the 1 and the 5 both need their own space, and the 5 will provide that excitement and variation that the 1 likes. But the 1 soul urge will dislike that the 5 is unable to commit and be serious, because the 1 is a very serious, task-orientated soul urge. And the 5 will consider the 1 to be a bit more too serious, unsociable and a bit stuffy at times and quite aggressive. But, the 5 can be emotional and aggressive as well. But the 1, they take the cake on that. Right, so the 5 soul urge with the 2. Now this is a sticky one because the 2 soul urge needs relationships more than any other number. They need intimacy, they need commitment, they need compassion, they want connection, they want emotional intimacy, they're loyal, they're committed. You put, the 2 tends to put others' needs above their own at times. And if there are 2 that doesn't have boundaries, this can be difficult because boundaries are important, or the 2 ends up being used, for want of a better word. the soul urge in itself is all about people. It's empathetic. They absorb the energy and feelings of others. They love one-to-one relationship, and they can be very possessive and jealous. So you can see straight away where there could be a difficulty between the 5 and the 2 soul urge. The 5 wants to meet new people. They want to get out there. They don't necessarily want to build intimacy with one person. They want to meet loads of people, and they want to travel, and they want to do new things, and they want to get out there. Relationships aren't necessarily, and very often not, the most important part of a soul urge 5's life. So this can cause issues. The 2s could struggle with the 5's lack of commitment to them and the lack of emotional intimacy that the 5 seems to project. And the 5 will struggle with the possessiveness and the, I hate to say neediness, but the need for connection of the soul urge 2. Okay. So this could be a sticky one. The numbers most compatible with the 5 are the 3, the 5, and the 7 and the 9. And they say the least compatible is the 2 and the 4. Excuse me while I let my lovely cat out. Hello, darling. Are you meowing at me? Come on, then. Go on, then. Sorry, he's a spoilt boy, and when he makes his demands, we tend to jump to attention. But his name's Tigger, and he's the loveliest cat in the world, and we all love him. Anyway, continuing on. So often everyone says as well, including my intuition, that the 2 and the 5 would struggle in a relationship. They'd need to work very hard in order to find their relationship successful, to be perfectly honest. But again, if you work hard, you understand each other's soul urge, and you can compromise together. Sky's the limit. I don't believe there's any definites in this world. Okay, if you know who you are and you know who your partner is, and you're willing to compromise with each other in some way, and that compromise works for you both, go for it. You'd be amazing. And if you are a soul urge 5 with a soul urge 2, contact me, put a message in the description box and let me know how you two make it work. Amazing. Right, compatibility of the 5 and the 3. This is an easier one. The 3 soul urge, they like their own space as well. They're very creative, sometimes self-absorbed beings. So when it comes to the 5 needing space and the 3, they both need space, to be perfectly honest. So they'd both be happy with that arrangement. But the soul urge 3's compatibility in relationships depends on whether the 5 shares their creative vision. Now, if the 3 and the 5 both have the same creative vision, boom, then this is amazing. Okay. And they both share that urge for spontaneity and fun and going out and socializing, which both numbers do love. Unfortunately, the soul urge often looks around for excitement elsewhere, normally in relationships. However, when they're with a 5, they have that excitement right there with them. So in my intuition, the 3 is less likely to cheat with a 5 or to go outside the relationship looking for variation, because the 5 should necessarily offer that excitement. Unless it's people variation the 3 really wants, then it doesn't matter how much excitement the 5 gives them. It depends on the person. Okay. So if the 3's current relationship isn't wild and passionate enough, or they feel that they need variation in people, this could be a bit of an issue for the 3. But both of them struggle to commit in relationships, which could be the only snag with the 5 and the 3, is they'd be happier, probably both of them, in an open relationship, maybe more than they would in a committed. I don't know. It depends on the 2 soul urge numbers, but they both have the potential to go outside the relationship. And because they both need their own space, there could be a fair amount of emotional distance between the pair of them if they're not careful. Okay, so the soul urge 3 may have a lot of different relationships in their lifetime, all of these different experiences that will, however, teach the 3, and the same with the 5, about different relationships and how to hold a relationship. So a mature 3 is more likely to be able to hold a relationship without going outside the relationship. Same with the 5, to be perfectly honest. The numbers most compatible with the 3 are the 5, the 6 and the 7. So others say that the 5 and the 3 are compatible. The 3 and the 5 can be good together. You know, they both have fun, they both socialize, they both have the potential to go outside the relationship, especially if they share creative vision, not so much so, because they will share that passionate interest together, and that can only enhance their relationships. I've noticed yet another typo in my slide. Look at that. Numbers most compatible for the soul for 5, 6, 7 and 9, which is correct. And the least compatible, the 3 and the 5. That's not correct at all. I would say that's more the 4 and the 8. Typo. Anyway, moving on. Okay, so soul urge number 4. This is a big snag. Okay, big snag here. The soul urge 4. They love family. They love commitment. They're loyal. They care deeply for the well-being of their family and community. For them, love and commitment and family is all about strength for them and stability, creating a safe, secure place to grow and develop. The 4 is a provider, so they often attract people who need to be supported, which is a bit of a snag because sometimes the 5 can swing from independence to dependence and can end up needing support, which can be a bit of a put on for the 4. And could be a bit of an issue for the 4. The 4 can be vulnerable to be taken advantage of in relationships, especially by an uncommitted flighty 5. It's important for the 4 to keep a controlled environment, and will not the 5 will not necessarily offer the 4 soul urge the security they crave. And a 5 soul urge wants to travel and experience the new and struggles to remain in a stable, independent, safe place. You know, they're not so bothered about safety and security. So the two urges completely diverge for the 4. The 4 wants security and stability and building relationships and building a job and building a strong base. And the 5 just wants to get out there and experience and fight and stop that and change that and do this and do that. The 2 soul urges really don't, if you can find me a soul urge 5 and a soul urge 4 that can actually mix their soul urges together in that way. Maybe they have half the year where they have a secure home together, half the year maybe at home, building their home and having some time alone, and maybe half the year traveling. Maybe that could work for a soul urge 5 and a soul urge 4. But yeah, they both have totally different ways of going about what they want in life. 5 most compatible numbers, as you can imagine, are a 3, another 5, a 7 and a 9, because the 9's compatible with everyone. And the least is the 2 and the 4, because the 2 wants the emotional intimacy and commitment and one-to-oneism, and the 4 wants the security of a home and a base. So this could be a sticky one, but it is perfectly possible for these 2 to come together, but you can see there could be some very deep-rooted issues between a 4 and a 5. 2 5s together. Okay, so 2 5 soul urges together. They'd be great travel partners, adventure partners. They'd have so much fun together. They'd be good at sharing experience and adventure. A relationship may possibly start as friends with benefits, because the pair of you don't really like committing, but you just like the hedonism of being in a relationship. Committing to a relationship can be difficult for the pair of you. So 2 soul urge 5s both need freedom. But 2 5s could be free together and have an amazing, exciting relationship, never putting down roots. If both 5s are honest about their needs and they want to commit like mature 5s would, there's no reason they can't commit in a strong long-term relationship. The only snag I can see is if one of the couple are, for want of a better word, slightly less developed 5, so they're still very, very flighty and very, very uncommitted, and they're with a more mature 5 that is at that stage where they're ready to commit with discipline and focus. That could be a bit of an issue, but mostly on balance, I think 2 5s would be amazing together. They'd have some explosive arguments and some amazing fun. And they would travel and be adventurous together, and that, you know, they have the potential of having a great relationship. And 5's most compatible numbers are the 3, the 5, 7 and the 9. Least compatible, the 2 and the 4, for obvious reasons. Okay. Right, so that one's quite an easy one, really. 2 5s together are, you know, I would say are amazing. They both could end up, I could see you two in sort of a very open relationship as well, I guess, like a 3 and a 5, that could work. But it depends what you both want in life and at what level of development you are in your 5 life path, or 5 soul urge, should I say. Keep saying that. Compatibility with the 6. Now, this is another difficult one because the 6 loves their home. They're very caring. They're very emotional. They like to bond with people. They have a lot to give to others. So you can imagine they can sometimes give a bit too much and end up being taken advantage of again, like the 2. The 6 is romantic and loving and with an innate understanding of how their partner is feeling. They desire nothing more than a family life. And the 5 can't always, the 5 soul urge won't always want to have that family life unless they're in a more developed state in their soul urge. They're committed, the 6. They're prepared to work hard in a relationship, more so maybe than the 5, who is more likely to move on in the relationship. The 6 needs a partner that wants long-term partnership, and the 5 doesn't necessarily, doesn't offer that to the 6. But the 5 and the 6, I think, could work in a certain way that the 6 would be holding the domestic fort and being the family for the 5 if their partner needs the freedom. So that would mean that the home always being there and the family being supported and the 5 coming home to that family. That could work. But the 6 must beware of partnering with someone who needs fixing and ignoring their own needs, because the 5 is quite flighty and can sometimes be dependent, and the 6 can often look at the 5 as someone who needs fixing, which is something the 6 really doesn't need, even though they seem to gravitate towards it. The numbers most compatible with the 6 are the 3, the 4 and the 9. Least compatible are the 1 and the 8. So the 5 is seen as a bit in the middle. But I think the 5 and the 6 could be a sticky one. But again, if the soul urge 6 is able to build a home and the 5 is able to attain their freedom and they come together in the middle happily, then who can anyone say that a soul urge 5 and 6 couldn't be happy together? It's about understanding each other and it's about compromise. The 7. Right. The 7 is a sticky one because a 7 is a bit like the 1 on steroids when it comes to not necessarily needing a partner or being overly enthused about having a partner, to be perfectly honest. The close relationships can be a bit of a struggle for a soul urge 7 because emotional intimacy doesn't come naturally to a soul urge 7. And they need to be on their own. Their need for solitude is quite great for a soul urge 7. They dislike people who are too needy and need their relationships to offer them mental stimulation. Now, the 5 are not needy at all. In fact, they could offer the 7 the space and solitude they need because the 5 needs their freedom too. And they're not in the slightest bit needy. And they can also offer the 7 great mental stimulation because there's nothing better from a 7 to hear about the experiences and amazing adventures that the 5 have gone through. That can be amazingly mentally stimulating for the 7. and it will keep the 7 interested, especially if the 7 is that way inclined, which they normally are. They like to learn about people and new things and things they haven't really looked into before. So this arrangement could work well for the 5, as the 5 wants freedom and the 7 could be mentally stimulated by the adventurous 5. The numbers most compatible, people say, with the 7 are the 4, the 5, the 7 and the 11. So the 5 is seen as compatible with the 7. So least compatible are the 3, the 6 and the 8. So yeah, there's high hopes for the 5 and the 7. The only snag I can foresee really with the 5 and the 7 is possible emotional distance, because the 7 isn't great with emotional intimacy and nor is the 5 really. So they would have to make sure they made time to pull together as a couple and have alone time and really make sure they have that amount of personal emotional intimacy, not just physical, emotional as well. The 5 and the 8. This is a difficult one because the 8 soul urge compatibility and relationship depends on whether the 5 shares their vision to succeed in life and is able to offer the support and freedom for them to achieve that success. Now, the 5 isn't necessarily, they can be, but not necessarily focused on worldly success. They're into experience and they're into being a bit flighty and, as I've said, lots and lots of different experience. But the 8 wants that more stability and to be able to go along the path towards emotional and security and abundance and success. And the 5 won't necessarily offer that support when it comes to the 8 needing abundance and status and like personal power. The 5 won't necessarily support that, but I can't see them necessarily being overly against it. But where they are, they will match quite well, is the 8 and the 5 both need their space. So, you know, the 8 needs their space to go out there and succeed, and the 5 needs their space to experience. The 8 puts their career first, and the 5 puts experience first. And romantic relationship comes second. So you can imagine for both of them, the romantic relationship isn't top of their priority list. So I foresee distance and possible apathy with this relationship. The soul age wants success. They want to get out there. They want a financial abundance. They like to be organized and structured. The 5 isn't interested in any of that. Organized and structured, you're joking. The 5 would rather just go out there and do it, you know, and do new things. And this is not so this is not so compatible with the 5 soul urge. But, you know, 8s, when it comes to money, fame and power, what does that mean without love and someone to share it with? You know, and for the 5, they could be quite drawn to the 8 because many people are, as the 8 is intensely magnetic and the 5 has that magneticness too. So they're both quite charismatic. Numbers compatible with the 8, because the 8 likes security, is the 4, another 8 and the 22. All those 3 numbers like security, structure and organization. And that's not really something that the soul urge 5 is good at. So unless you can compromise between the 2 of you, this could be quite a difficult relationship mix as well. Because the numbers least compatible with the 5 are the 2 and the 4. But if you double 4, you have 8. They're very similar numbers. So, you know, again, but as I say, if you can understand each other's soul urge and you can work with it, then, you know, be that person, be that couple that breaks the mold, I say. Right, 5 and the 9. See, the 9's quite good. They're very developed soul urge. That's a very developed urge to have. So they're very good in many relationships. They're quite compatible with many numbers. The 9 is very caring and compassionate. They're very protective. They've got a lot of love to give. They're open to the needs of others, but they're very, very interesting company, which will stimulate the 5. However, the 9 can be quite condescending and believe themselves to know better, to be honest. The solar, excuse me, oh dear, sneezes. Right. So the 9, learning to be a listener, can serve the soul urge 9. And the soul urge 9 finds that a lot as they go through their life, as will learning the balance between giving and receiving. Now, the 5 won't necessarily help the 9 with that, because the 5 swings from dependence to independence and will often need support from the 9. And the 9 can sometimes fall into the trap of being the fixer, which is a possible snag with the 5 and the 9. If the 5 falls into dependence, the 9 could be the one to enable the 5 to remain dependent, which is not really what the 5 is about. Where am I? The 9 can be taken for granted by the 5. The relationship could become codependent. So they're not the most compatible, but they're not the least compatible either. The 9 must take care not to be used by the 5, a 5 that cannot commit. And the 9 must accept the 5's adventurous side without the constant eye rolling and what ifs and, what a silly person that is kind of attitude. There is a possibility, because the 9 can be quite emotionally distant to people that are close to them. They're very compassionate towards people in the world, and they have a very world consciousness. But when it comes to really close relationships, the 9 can be a bit distant, and so can the 5. So I can see a possibility of emotional intimacy there, or lack of. The numbers most compatible with the 9 are the 3, the 6, the 7, and the 9. The least compatible are the 4 and the 8. So the 5 and the 9 aren't they're somewhere in the middle. But again, if the 9 can cope with the 5's adventurous side, and the 5 can cope with the 9's eye rolling and the always knowing best and being a bit emotionally distant, there's no reason why these two can't come together as a couple. The 5 and the 11. Now, the 11 struggles in relationships just like the 5. Okay, both of these numbers struggle in relationships. In fact, for the soul urge 11, it's part of what they're here to develop is holding down a relationship. Because the 11 soul urge's compatibility in relationship depends very much on the 5 soul urge's patience and understanding of the 11's spiritual quest. Now, the 11 is very much on a spiritual quest, but the 5 is on a quest for freedom. So, especially if they're both spiritual beings, they could both come together very well. If the 5 is adventurous when it comes to going to different spiritual venues, and learning spiritual topics, and they're interested in spiritual matters, then the 5 and the 11 can be amazing, because the 5 can work alongside the 11 on their spiritual quest. And both of them need space. The 11 needs time in the double 1 to themselves to be innovative and bring their message. And the 5 needs space to experience, as I've said before. But one of the missions of the 11 is to master and learn the lessons around creating and maintaining a healthy, successful relationship. And this is similar to the 5. So they both struggle in bringing together a successful relationship. The soul urge 11 too, when they are in a relationship, they do want a close, intimate relationship. The 5 may not offer the soul urge 11 the intimacy and connection and commitment that the 11 may need. The 11 is most compatible with the 1, the 2 and the 22, least compatible with the 3 and the 5. But I think, the 5 and the 11, they both struggle in relationships. They both need their space. And I think they would have to work hard in order to understand each other for these two soul urges to match. Where I see it being most successful is, as I've said, if they're both on the same, if the 5 is very interested in spiritual traveling and spiritual interests, they could join with the 11's spiritual quest and they could be amazing together. But if they don't share the same interests, then, They both struggle in relationships, and they could both end up tailing off and not really connecting in an intimate way like two people in a relationship should connect. But again, as I say, it's always possible when you understand each other. The 5 and the 22, not good. Like with the 4 and the 8, the 22 likes their stability. They both like their freedom. Again, the 22 desperately needs their freedom to develop because they are a master number, soul urge. And the 5 likes their freedom, so that's not going to be the issue in their relationship. The issue is going to be the soul urge 5s. It's not even that. It's not their patience and care and ability to understand the 22's need for a secure foundation. It is. In fact, I almost read that wrong. I might think about editing that bit out, but I never normally edit out my mistakes. I think it's okay for people to see when you stuff up. So I'm going to start that little bit again. So the 22 and the 5 are going to be a bit of an issue, because the 22s need that same secure foundation that the 4 and the 8 and often the 2 need, as well as the 22s need for doing good in the world and being a global consciousness. This could be tricky for the 5 because they just want to experience and they just want to learn new things. As a loyal and trustworthy partner, the 22 expects the same in return, which, as you can imagine, as I've said, the 5 soul urge is going to struggle to offer the 22 that stability, security and monogamy that the 22 expects. The 22 as well has a difficult path themselves. It means that they're not always going to be able to give time to their relationships because of their personal mission in this lifetime. The 22 soul urge will want to achieve something amazing, so that a lot of their time will need to be put to this, which again is amazing for the 5, but you can imagine this can cause some distance. And when the 22 doesn't satisfy the 5 doesn't satisfy the 22's need for a secure base, and they add to this emotional distance, this can be a bit of an issue for their relationship. As I've said, the only thing I can see that will work is that they can both give each other space. But yeah, they would struggle very much to connect emotionally, and especially if they both want different things. 22's most compatible numbers are the 2, the 4, the 6 and the 22, because these are the numbers that want security, they want stability, they want the home. And the 3 and the 5, much more flighty, not in need of that same security. So the 5 and the 22 are a difficult one, but as I always say, if you compromise, you never know, you could work together beautifully. Last but not least, the 5 and the 33. Now, the 3 has a big desire for this lifetime. So they really want to be ultra creative, and the soul urge 33 has a desperate need to bring something and express something new and creative to this world. And the 5 wants to experience and do their own thing and learn. Okay, so you can see there's a bit of a mismatch there. The 33 swings from being highly attentive and affectionate, which can be quite maybe quite difficult and too claustrophobic for the 5. And then they swing towards needing their own space, which of course is fine for the 5. The 5 soul urge likes freedom and variety, as you know, so they're going to struggle more when the 33 is being attentive and loving, because they might be a bit too overly attentive and loving, and that might cause the 5 to take a step back, maybe not. Depends where you are in your development as a 5. The 33 is naturally empathetic, and because the 3 and the 3 adds to a 6, the 6 means family and stability and security. But the 33 must nurture their own creativity as well. So the 33 are a clash between the security of home and the need to get out there and be creative and meet people. So the 33 very much has that clash within them. of the security and the base and the love of a family, with the need to get out there and socialize and create and be all and have an audience and just do different things. So this could be a major clash. But you know, the soul urge 33 is not an easy soul urge. So it's that's just the way it is. So the 5 would be great when the 33 needs their space. But when it comes to the 33 needing that commitment and family, the 5 soul urge wouldn't necessarily offer the 33 that, which could cause an issue. The 33 has a difficult job as well in this lifetime to do, so will often need to be more focused on their own thing than they will with a relationship. So again, distance. The 5 will go their way, the 3 goes their way, and then the 33 is unhappy that the 5 doesn't offer the 6 energy, which is the stability in the family. And the 5 will be stuffy that, you know, that the 6 wants to buy a house or wants a family, and all they want to do is travel, you know. So the 33 really is most compatible with another 3, the 4 because of the need for security, and the 9 because they just get on with everyone. And the least compatible are the 1 and the 8. So I guess they're considered in the middle, but I see that as a bit of a difficult one. But as usual, you know, if the 5 understands the 33's need for a secure base, and the 33 understands the 5's need to experience and have freedom and be a bit flighty sometimes, and maybe be a bit, you know, not so attentive and loving. If you can understand that side of each other, again, why not? Why can you not be a good couple? Okay. I hope you've really loved my video, and if you did like my video, please like and subscribe to my channel and click that bell icon, because that will keep you up to date with my latest and most up-to-date content. You can visit my website, which has links to numerology, and soon there'll be links to Mayan astrology on there, and there's also links to my shop for my ethical, vegan, health and well-being products. So take a look at that. You can also email me at katie@soulexplorer.net if you have any questions, or you can just drop the questions in the description box, or you can contact me on any of those Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn or Twitter. I'm going to put links in the description box below. Okay, as ever, guys, trust the soul within you. Your intuition is the only one that knows best. And I will see you soon.